Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager. It's episode 55. We are heading to Montreal, Canadian Grand Prix, and it's not the straightest of tracks, but there's a lot of straight sections where you're flat out. And we don't necessarily have the best setup because a lot of those are coming out of minor chicanes, medium speed chicanes, where okay, fine, we're good there, but the acceleration out of zone after zone after zone that you have here at Circuit Villeneuve, it's a somewhat difficult track for us, especially considering acceleration, not our strong suit. Medium speed, low speed, obviously we're fine. We were top at the start of the year, but making no upgrades that benefit those have dropped us out of the top three. The others have caught up and passed us, where we have those few parts, those few components on the car that are lagging massively behind. So we've been focusing on them to not just have one area of strength, but make the entire car strong. We're thinking about competing for a championship next year. It was a good race for us last year, though. I mean, we finished fourth and eighth place. Was it the highest finish of the year to that point? I think it might have been the second highest finish of the year to that point a season ago, as we beat both of the Alpines. We beat Alfa Romeo. We were third best on the day behind Red Bull and Ferrari. Now, of course, Mercedes was nowhere to be seen outside of the points in both cars. They had issues. We benefited from that a fair bit. Also, with both McLarens, DNFing, and I think that safety car period with Norris really helped us out early in that race, anyway.
Formula One is back in Montreal. Let's hope it's not going to be Groundhog Day. The local rodents have disrupted more than one race day here in the past. The Canadian Grand Prix is ready to kick off, and the only drama on the tracks we want to see is the best drivers in the world battling it out for a place on that podium. Gilles Villeneuve is a quick, free-flowing circuit in parts, with a stop-start aspect thrown in for good measure around the chicanes and hairpin bends. Medium-speed downforce will play a large part in avoiding the wall of champions and ensuring success at this iconic track. We're about halfway through the season now, and there's still plenty of time for everything to change. All eyes are on the teams and how they tackle the rest of the year. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Formula One.
And we're into Q1 here. I'm slightly nervous about the timing as Porsche and Albon just gets across the line here on this track. Everyone cutting it a little bit close. I mean, we're just off the back of the field here, but anyway, we're going to get our times in. Our lap is coming, and of course, playing with fire, just getting one hot lap in. We'll see what the guys can do. Now, in the meantime, I have opted. Setup's good, 100%, 97% for the two drivers. Track optimization wasn't great. We had a red flag period. Just things didn't quite work out. And so we didn't fully get there, but 14 out of 15 for the bonus for both drivers is absolutely solid. Porsche right in the middle of the grid at P10, and Albon just ahead of him. So we're half a second down on the Ferraris with that first lap. If we could do just a little bit better, we're 3-4 spots higher. And as we're out looking for our banker lap, and we're going to get a nice clean one in on the U set from Q1. 1:15.5 is where we come in at. We're behind Magnussen and the Haas. That's not a great place to be. But what I am doing in this race that is different is I'm making sure to activate the remaining parts that hadn't been activated. You can only take on new parts once all of your existing pool of parts have been used at least once. So I had brand new gearboxes that hadn't been used yet. So before I can purchase a new gearbox and take our penalty, which I'm planning on doing just once this season, I just want to add one to that pool, as we are P8, P10 at the moment, by the way. So Albon's time, could have been better. Easily could have been a tenth better than what it was as we prepare for that final run. But again, we should be a little bit faster on that final run And we are pretty close to the edge of making Q3 today. But it looks like we should be there or thereabouts on fastest as everybody is heading out. And it looks like we'll be the not quite last two to go. We'll be 12th and 13th of the 15 cars. But by activating those, it gives me the opportunity in one of the races. This is race 9. We're not yet at the halfway point. I've got a lot of parts that are in great shape. Outside of engine 1, gearbox 1, are remaining. And we got a yellow flag, Alonso, with a spin on turn 1. So Alonso, who was one of those cars behind us, by the way, has spun. That has compromised his lap, which means he will not get out. So we're ahead of Alonso. That's one car done. Bottas is behind both. Hamilton is behind both. So that's 3 cars beaten already. Guan Yu Zhou does not improve his time. That's 4 cars beaten. Oh, wow. P10 and P11. So Albon does not make it to Q3. And Porsche, by 1/1000th of a second, is into Q3. Boy, our car's not looking that great for this weekend. Being that we are quite clearly off the pace, and 10th is honestly what we can expect. Though, of course, there's a slim chance that we can move up a spot or two. Just take it easy. Porsche, you set. Banker lap. Only lap. Might as well. Should I, though? We're ahead of Magnussen, and we are 2/1000ths behind Ricciardo. Okay, you know what? Screw it. Let's not save. I was like, sure, let's keep two sets of softs for the race. But you know what? We've got a shot here. We've got a shot of improving our time, and starting from P8, I think it's worth it to go for it. All right, so Porsche with a shot at P8, which realistically it looks like we should be starting P10. We'll see what he can do. He's got the fresh set. Everybody else is on the used set. It's going to give him that slight advantage, and we literally only need 2/1000ths. Let's hope Ricciardo does not improve his time, and that Magnussen, who definitely will improve his time, only can improve by a few tenths. And Magnussen does. Ouch, 0.47. I did not expect Magnussen to improve by that much in the Haas when the other Haas is already out of the race. I was hoping that he would be still slightly behind us, somewhere around 0.6. So he was pretty dang quick on that one. And Ricciardo has not improved his time. So we do have that if Porsche improves. And he doesn't. Porsche has not improved his time, so we have wasted the set, and we end up where I expected us to be anyway, which was P10. Keeping that fresh set for the race. I don't know if we're going to have a two-stopper or not. Probably not. We're probably looking at a one-stopper, but having that set fully fresh seemed worthwhile until I saw the opportunity, and then both Magnussen and Ricciardo end up doing enough, and we don't.
Here we are, folks. We're back for another day of scintillating F1 action. It's race day.
Qualifying went well for Williams, as attested by their strong position on the grid. Now it's all about finding that edge for the race itself. This weekend, Red Bull displayed real promise during qualifying, but will they fulfill that potential by the time they reach the checkered flag? We've been having sunny weather here today, but there are some clouds looming that might complicate things for teams further down the line.
And each team will be hoping that fortune is on their side. So bon chance to them and their drivers for this Canadian Grand Prix.
Looks like we might not even see the soft compound as we are aiming for the one-stopper, medium to hard. I'm also planning on stretching 2 laps with Porsche and possibly even 4 laps with Albon. And therefore, if we are stretching, we can't push very hard, and therefore we are going to underfuel by 2 laps. So going light will help with the pace. The one stopper will absolutely help us against those on the two stopper, but we're also trying to set those hard compound tires up for that late push in the race, which inevitably sets us up for making some overtakes. And that's one thing we have done pretty well in this series, in this season, of those late moves. But that means we're going to have to get off of aggressive and settle in rather quick. We could be in for a pretty quick, straightforward race if there's no chaos anyway. If there's no safety cars, if we just kind of run through that 2 to 4 laps where we stretch is going to be pretty important to set up the end of the race, and pretty important to not lose a great deal of track position by stretching.
The drivers there lined up on the grid under mostly sunny skies. Here's Williams. With a top 10 position on the grid, this race could really go either way for them. And then we've got Alex Albon. They're in the back half of the pack, so they'll need to work hard if they want a podium finish. Everything's been building to this. The drivers are ready and raring to go. It's the Canadian Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go.
There was a split second with Albon starting from P11 that I was like, I wonder. And Corsair from P10, I was like, I wonder if this is the race. This is the time where you take, great penalty for at least one of the cars and start from the back and go from hard to medium and just outlast your opponents. But not quite. We're not that far down. We're not that far down. But it's a real sign of the lack of upgrades that I've brought to the 3 key parts, the ones that brought us up the grid so fast. Not upgrading those further has seen us fall down the grid now relatively fast, and trying to bring those other 3 along, well, hasn't done a whole lot for us. But we have a big hold up in front of us as there is a spin here at the hairpin. It's Sonoda, and Sonoda is down to last place, but it did back the field up a little bit, or I think the field just backed up, and that Sonoda spin might have been behind us and further back. We have gotten around Ricciardo with Corsair, and Albon is looking to do the same now as they go to the Wall of Champions, and Albon is side by side with Danny Rick, and will complete the move. So we have gotten one overtake complete here. It being light means we have some extra pace. Multiple cars have crashed.
Doing what you're doing.
We have a Mercedes at least.
Now watch this. Lewis Hamilton involved in this one.
Lock up behind in the AlphaTauri and just clips him.
They'll have felt that.
So Hamilton has been taken out by Vettel. And that puts them both to the back of the grid. They were both behind us, as the Mercedes is very much off the pace here. Russell in 5th, though. But Russell could be on brand new components, with Hamilton on very old ones, as he was definitely off the pace throughout the weekend so far.
Firm on DRS.
Alright, like I said, we need to settle in early, and we have done so as DRS becomes active. Perez looks to be leading a train here. Verstappen has pulled away from Leclerc, and it's the 2 Ferraris, and then Norris leading a small train, and Corsair leads the next small train as Perez goes by. So Perez is really kind of the one who's leading the train. We're just following, but Perez off the pace. He was at the front, but he just got around him momentarily. And Magnussen gets back past as Perez passes Corsair, and it drops us back down to P9 and P10. In terms of our train, now 5 seconds behind the leaders, which means we are very much off their pace today. And we are caught up in the train that we are caught up in. That still is all the way down to Alonso. now led by Magnussen, and Magnussen's pace is really poor, but the DRS is strong, and so he comes through and it holds the train up, and we lose 2 to 3 seconds before Perez finally gets back by, and then Magnussen goes right back past Perez, so again will hold us up further. And meanwhile, Albon nearly a second down, but with DRS we'll close that back up. And let's go ahead and do the same for Albon momentarily as he goes past Magnussen as well. So that DRS, very powerful for whoever's in number 2. And Porsche suddenly 1.7 down. I don't know what happened there. That was absolutely nothing to do with backing off on the fuel, as we were not behind. But we have lost that DRS. That's going to split these two groups up.
Is that a new race position for Haas?
I think it was some sort of attempted overtake on Perez that caused Porsche to probably back out of it, because it was very sudden that we lost that second. But there's no indication that there was a lockup or running wide or anything like that. Plus the cars that are behind are still right there behind.
Okay, there's a big crash.
I think this might have been us.
And a new
Yellow flag.
Just
Okay, Albon overtakes Perez.
Yellow red.
We've had a crash.
Oh, it's Alonso. Alonso with crash on turn 1.
Now let's watch this. The Alfa Romeo involved in this one.
This is Porsche's group.
Dear me, they
Locks
wouldn't
up.
have been expecting that.
It's really the crash mechanics there. Turn 1 is very wonky. You don't just run wide and rejoin the track. They kind of make you get wonky so you don't suddenly find yourself up the grid instead of down the grid, as Albon is challenging here. This is the P8, P9, P7 train. Now just 3 cars, Albon, Magnussen, and Perez. Perez having a pretty bad day to be back here with this and not be faster than either one of us. But meanwhile, Porsche, now Alonso is off the back. He's on his own. That's Alonso just behind us. So we're now looking at Ricardo, Bottas, and Porsche with 3 guys here. Fuel seems to be recovering relatively quick in this race, but it is lap 17 already. And we did, go light a little bit. And Alonso into the pits. Of course, that is related to his crash. I would imagine he's probably looking at a 2-stopper now, as we are looking to pit on lap 28 or 30. And I think everybody else is looking around lap 26, so to pit almost 10 laps early is surely going to put you in 2-stop type territory. And that's Alonso's day compromised. Only 3 cars on the softs. Vettel on the hard, but he has... Did he pit already as well? No, he is not. He just started the race. So without DRS, Albon seems to hold off Perez and Magnussen a little bit better. They're still constantly swapping position, but Albon seems to have the best pace out of the 3, which obviously is surprising, as we were the slowest of the 3 in the qualifying. But here we are, getting overtaken, and that's the thing. Perez is on the softs. No, he's not. It sure looks like he's on the softs. With Porsche, as Bottas is into the pits. So Bottas has pit, and now it's just Porsche and Ricardo in this group. 7 seconds to Guan Yu Zhou. Field is very spread. I mean, when you look at the mini-map, there's cars everywhere. Every single section of track has cars. There's Vettel. That's the back end of the field. So, you got a very spread out back end. Front end is definitely more bunched up. But our 2 groups are not with that bunching, as Albon goes back around Perez. But the fact that we keep leading these 2 trains is making fuel conservation a little bit harder. Porsche was already behind Ricardo, but he tried to make an overtake and then tucks in behind and loses ground. So there's that for you. Game constantly doing that to you. Now we're a second down on Ricardo. Norris, excuse me, Norris pits first. That was the end of lap 24 where he pit. That's a couple laps early. Okay, not the only one. Verstappen, Russell, end of lap 25, all into the pits. Magnussen, Ricardo, both into the pits. That's going to leave us alone now. Fully alone. Perez is still with Albon. So we'll run on a little bit more. But Pourchaire, I was always intending on him pitting a couple laps earlier because start of the race, Pourchaire was the one ahead. Albon a little bit further down and seemed to have struggled with pace a little more than Pourchaire was. Sainz and Gasly now pitting as well. So it is on. And we do stand to lose some track position if we wait too long to pit. Sainz, Gasly, Perez. Tsunoda all pitting. Leclerc, Verstappen, the only ones left. Verstappen's already pit, so just Leclerc. Leclerc and Ocon, the only ones that have yet to pit. Albon with a 1:18.5 on his last lap. Pourchaire at 1:17.9. Pourchaire, of course, has been pushing a little bit. I think Albon needs to push as well. It's clear that there's a good half second in that.
We're happy to push on with the tyres.
Russell 1:16.3. Sainz, Gasly, though, not quite quick yet. Somebody locked up. It's Vettel. I believe Vettel's bad day continues.
I think there's been a lock-up.
It is. That was a 1:17.9 on his own, and Pourchaire gets a 1:16.6. So Pourchaire getting that benefit of this train shaves off a whole second on that lap. I think if anything, Albon's going to need to pit sooner, but here is Russell now catching him. So as he winds up in the train, I think we want to stay in this train as long as these two can. The moment they lose the train, that's when you pit. We are the only cars that have not pit yet. And we're down at 33%. Pourchaire's already lost the train ahead. I do think it's time that we maybe do something. Clearly don't have the pace anymore. 2.5 second stop for Pourchaire, already returning to the track. And he's going to return down in P12. But right there where we were before, really. We haven't lost much. Bottas, Perez, only a couple seconds ahead. So 2.9 behind Bottas. That's obviously that's the target right now, is we want to get up there. But use those fresh tires that we have compared to everybody else. We're at 97, 98%. Bottas is already down to 78. So we have a huge advantage over him. Hamilton, Stroll, Alonso all down there. Vettel way down there. So can DRS be a bonus to kind of pull us back up and slingshot our way forward between the two? 10.5 second advantage behind. I don't think we need to worry about any of those guys, but from P11 and P12 we ought to have a lot of work left to do if we are going to finish in the points today. And of course we just have that group ahead of us of Perez, Magnussen, Ricardo, and Bottas, the same guys that we were racing with, but are now 5.5 seconds behind. So we came out 2 seconds behind them, but without DRS we are off the pace by quite a bit here. Perez with a problem. He spins. That's going to back him up towards us. And I think Albon now has a chance. Let's go aggressive and try to get within a second of Perez. If we can do that, then we've got a legitimate shot. Use the overtake. So kind of whoever's at the front will push a little bit. And we'll slowly bring him back, slingshot our way, and we're within DRS range. So Perez, he is 3 seconds behind, but I have a feeling he can get us up to that group, and we could still be competing for P6. In fact, we've caught Perez very, very quickly here. Now we're at the mid 115s.
Red Bull gained a place.
So that was very quick. 2 seconds faster than those in front. Gain a lot of ground there. Even Perez put in a good lap time with a 1:16.6. And squeezes Pourchaire a little bit. Pourchaire loses a lot of ground, making him a sitting duck, and he doesn't even get DRS. I thought he was still in position. He was... Okay. Apparently he was still ahead of Albon at the detection zone. Close him up, get that DRS, and just keep slingshotting our way forward to that front group. We're now less than 2 seconds behind them. Should have DRS here, and we do. That closes that up. And we leave Perez behind. So we have caught Perez, we have passed Perez, and now we have left Perez behind and are just 1.5 seconds behind Danny Rick. Pourchaire, with the benefit of DRS, goes through
Fastest lap.
and gets the new fastest lap. A 1:15.2. Nice. And it brings us right up on Ricardo. We have caught Ricardo. We've done it. We are back in range of those guys on much fresher tires. So quick update on how that's looking as we are now at 85%. Everybody else around us is at 75, except for Bottas way down at 67. So significant advantage here on the hard compound. That can benefit us much later on. Oh, hello. That was, I believe, Vettel. Blue flag getting out of the way there. Only just. That's my target right now, as we've made it to the cars we needed to make it to. We have a very good tire advantage over them. So we have a lot of things going for us. What we don't have right now, though, is spare fuel. So therefore, that's what I want to take care of first. So we want to refill our batteries at some point. And Pourchaire makes the first move. And we have Albon trying to follow through.
And there's an overtake from Williams.
Let's let him push for a second, complete the overtake, and he does. Albon being the car behind is getting that benefit. By the way, we're at P9, P10 now, so both cars in the points. But Albon being the one behind is benefiting more from getting his fuel load correct here rather than later. But Pourchaire all over the back of both Ricardo and Magnussen. It's less than 5 seconds to Gasly up the road from there, and Gasly's in no man's land in P6. So it'd be nice if we could turn the engine up instead of down. These overtakes are going to be quite possible late on. Go ahead and go balance through here. Sector 1, yellow.
Looks like there's been a lockup.
Hamilton with the lockup. Two squabbling ahead. Is this an opportunity for an overtake for Pourchaire? Definitely having a look right now. Nice to get to the front of this. Now just 17 laps to go, so let's turn things down again for Albon. 3.5 seconds behind Gasly, by the way, so this group is getting closer and closer to Gasly. So our ultimate target, I think, has got to be P6 and P7. That would be an ideal finishing position at this stage. Bottas into the pit. Bottas, a two-stopper for him, and that leaves him out of this. He was the one that was behind us, but he was very much not going to compete with us in the last 15 laps, even with fresh softs. There's no way he's getting up on us. So now we have a 4-car train that is 3.4 seconds behind Gasly. Stroll is behind us, a lap down. So he's not a threat. He'll be fast. At least based on Gasly's pace, you would think he'd be fast. Good race pace is making this very easy to conserve fuel and catch up to these two. And there is an attempted overtake from Porsche. Go ahead and give them a little support in that, because I mean, we certainly want to see them get ahead of one of these guys here naturally soon. But he's going to tuck back in for now and have another look. But oh, side by side, okay.
And a new position.
And fuel's nearly right for Albon. He's very, very close. But Porsche still got a ways to go. He does get to the front. He's 1.8 seconds behind Gasly now. So go ahead and use a little bit of that to pull us up to Gasly. And then Albon behind. Lap 60. Leclerc leads from Verstappen. Sainz 3.5 seconds back. Russell alone in 4th. Norris a little bit behind, just out of DRS range in 5th. And then a huge gap to Gasly, who is now just 1.5 seconds ahead. So we've really, really clawed back that time. Porsche, Ricciardo, Albon together. Perez is 6.5 seconds down now, so he is falling back further and further. And we have finally got fuel just about right here with Albon at 0 or minus 0.1, so he's almost there. Porsche at 0.7, and somehow is now less than a second behind Gasly. Which means that's Ocon? No, Hamilton's like 39 seconds down. Is Stroll... Oh, he's caught up and passed Stroll. That's what it was. That was for position there between those two. Uh-oh, what just happened? As we had a big checkup moment there. Okay, go ahead and go aggressive. Go ahead and use the overtake. Let's complete that move. Let's get ahead. And we are. Can we drive away here? As Porsche nearly has his fuel taken care of. We're at 1.5 behind Porsche. We want to get him up there and try to extend and get away from these guys quickly, so that we do not give them DRS and rule them out of contention. And it's going to set up Magnussen to still be in DRS, so we have drug Magnussen with us as Albon goes past Gasly, just like that. Boy, he had a big old head of steam on that one. Into P6 for Albon, into that ideal position. Now it's Porsche's turn to go aggressive because he can follow his teammate through. So go ahead and use the overtake and go aggressive. Fuel will still stay neutral for now. Already side by side with Gasly. So much of this is a solid advantage in terms of tire wear. You can see we're still 10% ahead of quite a few of the guys. Gasly, it's only a 5-6% advantage, but it's still an advantage. And that uses up both of their batteries. Porsche now P6, Albon P7. And we should be able to easily see out the two positions we are in, you would think. Bottas has taken the fastest lap. Those who have done the two-stopper on the softs are that little bit quicker. Bottas will probably get around Danny Ricciardo, whereas he also... Yes. Yeah, that'll see Bottas get it back into the points. Yellow flag, sector 1.
Oh, we've had a spin.
Sonoda with a spin. You're gaining over a second a lap on Norris, but at 18 seconds behind, you're not going to catch him. Porsche, a little bit behind his teammate. Go ahead and push. Fuel is positive delta now. That's where we needed it to be. Okay, half a second. So we're good. We are dragging those two behind us, but they do not seem to have the kind of pace necessary to overtake us. And with just a few laps to go, I have a feeling we are right where we're going to finish in P6, P7. It is Albin ahead at the moment of Porcher, as they have yo-yoed just a little bit. And we lap Alonso there. Oh shoot, Albin! Albin's been overtaken by Gasly.
They've moved up a place.
He's been overtaken by Gasly, and Porcher is out of DRS range. Go ahead and drive aggressive and try to pull away. But Albin has some work to do to get back around as we begin the last lap of the race. Okay, overtake here. This is a great place to do so.
Check the DRS.
Boy, that happened fast.
Sure.
But the overtake's complete.
Good job, good job. Last lap, last lap.
We are nearly a second out of range of
Overtake is
Gasly. If we
available.
can get Gasly out of DRS range, then it's a done deal for P6, P7. It appears that it is a done deal. Find out here in a moment. We've already passed the detection zone and we were more than a second ahead. And it looked like Gasly gets DRS anyway. No, he does not. Flap was not open. We pull out to 1.6. So Porcher has that much of a pace advantage by pushing. And Leclerc has already claimed the win as we come around the hairpin the final time. Verstappen is going to take P2. Sainz approaches the line in P3 with Russell missing the podium just slightly. P4. Norris is going to take P5. And Porcher and Albin. This is what you have left to defend. Side by side for the line. Who's it going to be? It is Albin, P6, getting that DRS advantage and just overtaking Porcher at the line.
Yeah, thank you.
Albin for P6, Porcher for P7.
Nice job,
Gasly
nice job.
loses us and
Go
falls
on that,
2.5
I think.
seconds down to P8. Magnussen, Bottas does get
it
into
back.
the points
Check it
in
back.
P10. I believe he had the fastest lap. He was on same time as Magnussen as they crossed the line, but did not get around him. He did leave Ricardo behind by nearly 6 seconds. Perez all the way down in P12. Really bad day for him, and he didn't have damage or
So,
anything.
Perez.
He was just slow. It's an okay haul of points for us, though Ferrari is going to gain a lot with that result. We pick up 14 points on the day. Still P2 and P3 in the drivers, but Verstappen pulling away a bit more, roughly 40 points ahead. We only lose 4 points to Red Bull in the constructors, though, as Perez did not score. Big gain for Ferrari, though, as they pull back 26 points on us. And it's going to be difficult to hold them at bay without major upgrades in terms of the one area where we were pretty strong and are no longer. We're not far behind them. We are far behind in straight line speed, which is what we've been trying to address, and it's just a slower sequence of upgrades to make, which is why we started with the underfloor, but now that we've neglected it and had 0 upgrades to the underfloor this season, now we are lagging behind once again in that department. So yeah, there's a trade-off. I think we might have to veer right once again, get one upgrade going to those other 3 components at least, so we can regain some competitiveness before returning to that long-term objective of dragging the chassis and the side pods and the suspension up to being competitive, so that we are finally, a complete package and not just a team with good downforce. That Ferrari is definitely inching in closer, so dangerous territory there. Mercedes, McLaren, we seem to be holding them off relatively well. We might be in for a P3 in the constructors after all by the end of this season, at least at the rate we're going, even if we are still competitive with those top 2. I think ultimately we are going to struggle. At least that's how things are looking right now. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.